All right, let's see if it picks up and goes live this time. I always seem to be having streaming problems. There we go. What's up, everybody? Froggy Stonks here. Nothing I say is financial advice, entertainment purposes only. We're about to join the space call with Marc. It's going to be a good space call. I'm calling it Cohodes UnCUT. He's going to come in, answer questions. We're going to have some fun. He's going to address some of the things that have been said this week. I think it's going to be a really good show.
Gonna wait till the top of the hour to start, but it should be something. So enjoy it today.
Getting her keyed up right now. Now we should have volume. I'm going to go ahead and mute my mic. I'm going to go live on my phone to start talking in the space call with Marc. I'll come back on for anything important. He said we're going to wait till the top of the hour to start the call, so. Still just waiting. Should be popping up soon. I'm going to go ahead and just play this over my microphone instead so I can sit here and do some other things while we talk. Let me check and see what's going on. Top chat, live chat. There we go. What's up, Alex? Alex, see what's going on, man. Yeah, volume will be a little low for a minute. We're just trying to start the space call up, so. Plus, I'm having a massive streaming problems today for some reason with YouTube. Like a ton of streaming problems. I do not know why. Oh. Uh-oh, what happened? The space call has ended. Uh-oh. Oh no. What happened? I don't know what's going on. I accepted the co-host and it booted me. Well, what's going on? Invited co-host, accept co-host. I don't know what is going on with this space. It just dumped everybody again. Woo. I wonder if I should start the space for Mark, have him come in. We'll see what happens here. I bet he tries to restart here in a second, guys. Hold on. I've been having trouble with YouTube all morning. I've been having trouble with Twitter. It's crazy. Like, it's almost like they don't want anybody talking about AMC or something. It's freaking nuts. Come on, Mark, save us. Sorry, guys. I'm trying to set it up. Mark had the space up, and then it just started crashing on everybody. So, 8-bit AMC just floating around where they were this morning. I wonder if Mark's having signal trouble. Okay, I'm going to start one. Okay, Mark. Boom. There we go. Space call's up now. Let's let Mark get in here. We'll get it shared out. Continuation of Alder Lane. Lane X space call. Cohodes UnCUT. What's up, everybody? Just sent Mark the co-host. What's up, everybody? Just sent Mark. You there, Mark?
Spence, that's the weirdest ass thing.
I've been having trouble all day.
Yeah, send me the co-host invite, and then we can get the show on the road here.
Good deal. I've been having trouble on Twitter, YouTube, everything. So the room is yours, Mark.
We have it up and running. Okay, that's the weirdest thing. So anyway, I figured today would be a good time to have a Spaces call to clear up that mayhem that was yesterday. So, as many of you know, and some of you don't know, I have a 36-year-old son. His name is Max, and he's a disabled fellow and has been since birth and goes around in a stroller kind of wheelchair situation. And his attitude is outstanding. He's never complained about a thing, and he motivates me to no end. So one day, I don't know, must have been when he was like 9 or 10, we were tooling around Marin County in the stroller, and we passed a bunch of kids who sort of were snickering at him and making fun at him as we passed by. And I didn't say a word, but he sort of looked back and said, "It's not what they call you, Mark. It's what you answer to." And that's a thought I want to leave or start with today. And I never forgot or forget that. And I don't give a rat's ass what my detractors or skeptics have to say about me. I could care less, which is why I got so upset yesterday, because Edwin, who has significant issues, but I elected to overlook them to try to help him out in life, came to me and said, "I want to talk about your failures." And I said, "That's no problem. I've had many." But he said he wants to talk about AMC, App Harvest, and Nikola. And I said, well, that's problematic if we go there, because Nikola I've never been involved in. App Harvest I liked. Stock went from 12 to 40. The story changed, and I told everyone to get the hell out. And I made money on it. If you can't make money on something that goes from 12 to 40 in 6 months, I don't know what business you want to be in. And my record on AMC is very, very, very clear. So I said, if you go there and you echo what these sociopaths have to say, of which I have them blocked, because I elect to not let those people get in my mind, there's going to be a major problem. And I reminded him 10 minutes before the call began that it would be a major problem, but he decided to go there, and it was a major fucking problem. So that's what sort of happened. And I can't answer, and I said this yesterday, if Reggie Jackson gets hassled or heckled by 50,000 people when he plays the Red Sox, he is not looking into the crowd answering every skeptic or every naysayer out there, because otherwise he couldn't do his job. And I don't have a job. I do, and I invest because it's fun for me. It's a challenge. It gives me something incremental to do, and I'm fucking good at it. I am good at it. And the detractors and the naysayers aren't so good at it. And if they focus more on their process and what they should do and less about me, they would do a whole lot better. And whether it's clowns like Hempton, whose performance is terrible, or a Chanos, who never is criticized for being short Tesla, where it's up 150 times on them, or a whole slew of other business failures focusing on me. Guys and gals, focus on yourself. Get your process better. Instead of charging people 2 and 20 and taking money for shit-ass performance, do better. If you're an up-and-comer and you want to hassle me, like this Compound 248 who runs a $2 million ETF that's down 50%, focus on your process, son. Don't focus on me. Don't focus on the Novix. Do better yourself. I have a track record that goes back since 1982. Plenty of great things, plenty of mistakes, plenty of failures. But I take it seriously. I take it personally. I'm as competitive as the day is long. And a half hour ago, I told my girlfriend, I said, something is really fucking bothering me today. And she says, what's that? I said, I went to Babson College, which is a business school. I was lucky to even get in there. And she said, you got a finance degree, right? And I said, I did. And I said, what eats me to this day, and this was 43 years ago, I took security analysis and the professor gave me a B minus. And that B minus eats my ass to this day. And the professor was Dr. George Troughton. And that motivates me. So I'm a different cat. I'm a different breed. I have an awful lot of friends in this business. I remember where I came from. I was a shit student. No one thought I would amount to a hill of beans. I started at the Northern Trust in 1982, making $17,000 a year. A guy named Al Jackson, who was a food analyst at Credit Suisse, which was then called First Boston, took me under his wing, showed me the ropes, taught me how to do things the right way. And I'll never forget it. Never forget it. And I owe that guy a lot. And Edwin Dorsey owes me a lot. I'll never get it back, and I don't give a fuck about him anymore. Hugely disappointing. If you're on here, don't bother emailing me that you're a kid or a person who wants to get in the business. Will I help you? Going forward, I will help no one. I'll keep giving investment advice. I'll try to keep helping people from bad actors, bad processes, bad business decisions. But no good deed goes unpunished. And yesterday was a fucking disgrace. And I only feel bad because I'm really disappointed in a guy who, without my guidance, would literally be making turkey sandwiches. Smart guy, very smart, on the spectrum, a guy who goes out and has a turkey sandwich with peanut butter, but he has problems. And now he has a bigger problem because he no longer has me in his corner. So I just wanted to say that I'm motivated by different things. I don't forget. I do my very best to give you exactly what's on my mind. Everyone on this call is an adult. Everyone's responsible for their own investments. If you can't make money in an app harvest from 12 to 40, or an overstock from 3 to 120, or a Camping World from 3 to 42, then you have real troubles. Because I do not tell you when to buy. I do not tell you when to sell. If my ideas change, my thesis changes, I let it be known. If I'm wrong, I admit I'm wrong and congratulate the other side. But I will not be disrespected. My track record is long enough, it's clear enough of what I've done and what I haven't done. And I just won't take it. I just won't take it at all. And when I specifically mention 3 or 4 times to not go there because 1, it's not true, 2, ask me about my failures rather than come back with 3 tweets that make me look bad, I'm not into that. So if the language offended you yesterday, it's what I am, it's who I am, and I apologize for it. But I am me, and I will stay me. I'm 63 years old. I know there is something called father time out there. It hasn't gotten me yet, but there will be a day where I will not be able to find the silver gates that go down 99.9%, followed up by a signature bank, which goes down 99.9%. And guys who are jealous and want to be me and detract from me wish wish they had one of those in their career. Wish they had one, yet alone two, yet alone an FTX. And before we get into the commentary or questions, I'm in year 4 of suing the FBI and the DOJ for what they did to me on that visit in December of 2017, where the government told me they had 4 pages on me. They said they would give them to me between 4 months and 4 years. We said that's not acceptable. We sued them on a FOIA basis in federal court. They've now turned over 1,462 pages that they had on me. And names are getting unredacted. And when this is said and done, and I get all the documents and the story comes out, most of you will be completely freaked out on exactly what went on with my medics, the federal government, a senator, and some of you bad actors who are in the investment business. And there will be hell to pay. That I can promise you. Hell to pay. My lines were tapped, emails hacked, stories made up, and this is serious shit. So if you think I am thin-skinned, you're sadly confused. Sadly. Because I know how this whole thing works. Furthermore, if the bullshit continues, I will expose people who you have no clue of how they do their business and what goes on. So I've officially had enough of the bullshit. I do my best to help people. I'm pretty straightforward in terms of everything I'm thinking. You don't have exactly what I think, because part of that is me and mine. But I was just very, very, very disappointed yesterday in what went down and how it went down. And true friends of mine, if they have an issue with me, email me, call me, text me, and say, let's talk it out. So that's how I wanted to start it out, Spence. And we can open it up to any questions, talk about ideas. I know everyone knows I'm not a macro guy. I'm very specific in names, but yesterday was cut short, and there's plenty out there to talk about. So that's how I wanted to sort of kick this whole thing off.
Absolutely. And Mark, thank you for hosting the space. I think everybody just resonated with what you said. As far as the format, would you like me to bring people up one at a time with questions and then maybe a question and a commentary?
Sure. I mean, we can talk about AMC, we can talk about shorts, we can talk about overstock, T0, tokenization, battery, milestones. We can talk about the Enovix shelf offering. We can talk about whatever people want to talk about. But I just wanted to start it off and clear the air and get my mind clear from that bullshit that went down yesterday.
Sounds great. Looks like Michael's been brought up as speaker. Michael, the floor is yours.
Hey, Mark, your altruism is second to none. It's phenomenal what you try to do to help these people, or anyone for that matter. And I applaud you, and I appreciate all the tweets and everything else. And I thank you. And I have two things: one on Overstock and one on Enovix. Regarding Overstock, when you did talk about it yesterday, and when you were discussing T0, you mentioned that the valuation was 200. You thought the valuation could be somewhere between 2 and 500 million. And I think you forgot a zero. So I just would like you to respond to that. And then I want to say something on Enovix.
Okay, I said 2 to 500 million yesterday because I want to be conservative. So Overstock right now, I mean, the stock, moves more than a rape ape. And, let's say it's 25. There's 45 million shares out. So let's just say, what's that math? $1 billion, $1.2 billion, $1.3 billion?
Yep.
Some number like that. They have 300 million of cash. net of debt, 300 million of cash. So it's roughly $7 a share of cash. So let's use $500 million for T0, right? And the 300 million of cash. That leaves Grain Chain, assuming the rest of Medici is worthless, and the retail business worth what? 400 million? $400 million, something like that. I don't think folks can understand how big this Grain Chain can be. I said yesterday that on my Twitter, there is someone who is the COO of a worldwide major conglomerate that does 90 billion in revenue, 90 billion. And they want to use and are working with Grain Chain on a pilot program to move, let's just say, parts from the Asia Pacific worldwide. And Grain Chain will basically do the job of 12 handlers. They will cut out 12 middlemen. Overstock owns 30% of Grain Chain. So I think Overstock right now, right, the market cap of Overstock is worth what Grain Chain is, plus the cash, plus T0. So I'm trying to be conservative in approach because the stock doesn't reflect anywhere close to what I think this thing can be. Now, the Overstock brand was shit. Everyone knew it was shit compared to Wayfair because it had the Patrick Byrne taint to it. But now it has a tremendous brand in Bed Bath that they paid $20 million for. They couldn't rebrand the company for less than $150 million. So now they're going to do it with a classic timeless brand for $20 million. And I want to make this really clear, really clear. When I say I'm up to no good, I'm up to no good on Overstock. I am working on something major. I can't talk about it. I don't talk about it, but it is where I am spending my time. And I am serious as a fucking heart attack here. And when everyone sees it, if I can pull it off, right, they'll say, that guy was something. Because as hard as I was working before, the fact that everyone thinks my longs completely suck means I'm working that much harder. I don't think I could work that much harder, but truly I am. So 500 million, T0 has the world to themselves. Everyone else is either out of business or being criminally charged. David Goon is working on getting the technology to be as good as it technologically, that's not the right word, as good as it can be. And my message is, do not come with anything until the product is bomb-proof, because you got one shot at this. You got one shot to really get it right. And they're going to get the tech right. And when they come with what they're coming with, people aren't going to know what hit them. They're just not going to know. So use 200 million, use 500 million. They got 300 million of cash. They do $1.7 billion, $1.8 billion in online retail under the Bed Bath name. They're making money when Wayfair's losing money. I just don't know what to say, right? I don't know what to say. I really, really, really like it, right? And when I liked it before and it went from 3 to 100 or 120 and Reyes and I had the cannon firing, I had to remind people that everyone's on their own. If you make 30 times your money or 10 times your money or 5 times your money, right? Your money is your money. I don't manage anyone's money other than my son and I. Do whatever you all need to do to be financially right and keep your head right. I don't tell you what to do, right? If Overstock goes to 200, it's because of you. If it goes to 3, it's because of you, right? I just give my view on something called Twitter. I don't do Instagram. I don't do Facebook. I'm not trying to sell anybody anything. Just try to, just everyone needs to do you. But 500 million, I'd lose all credibility if I said it's worth 2 billion. So use 200 million. It's a lower bar, but I really like this thing, and I'm working my ass off here. So your Enovix question.
So, well, it's a comment and then a question. So, in the press release on July 26th, which was the earnings release, second paragraph, Raj says much progress has been made since last quarter, and we remain on track to commence factory acceptance testing, known as FAT, next month in support of battery sample production from the first Gen 2 auto line beginning in April of 2024. So, July 26th, he says next month, which is now this month. Today's August 23rd. I would expect, I should assume, that there would be a press release regarding that statement sometime either before August 31st or right after August 31st. Would that be a correct assessment based on what I just read to
I mean,
you?
that's how I read it. I mean, that's my view. I think we saw in the earnings conference call the machines running. Some of these crackpots in TJ's, letter to wherever he made that press release, they accused Reyes and I of having inside information, which we don't have. They accused Reyes and I of being paid by the company, which we're surely not. That's beyond insulting. So, I mean, I just go by the press release. I think if he said factory acceptance testing in August and it's August 23rd, yeah, I would expect to hear something soon. I'm not worried on that in the least. I mean, the latest thing that everyone wants to throw against the wall is this concept of the shelf. And here's what I said to them. I said it to Raj. I said it to the CFO, Farhan. I said it to Charlie. I said it to TJ. I said it to everyone there. You guys do not need the money right now. You don't. You have ample money, especially with the YBS deal, to build out lines 1 through 4. And when you build it out and it works, or you can say this thing works at speed, then the stock will go, in my opinion, 1, through the roof. 2, you'll raise all the money you want, and that will be that. Or you sign an OEM deal with a Facebook or a Dell or a Samsung or the Chinese phone guys or an Apple, right? At which point the stock goes through the roof. And then you do the shelf or pull the shelf and sell it to the 34 million shares that are short at whatever price. You do not need to raise that money now. And I further told them that if they do the shelf at this level without Gen 2 working, without selling the shelf to a company, as an investment, you will lose me as a supporter because you don't need the money right now. And the shelf is good housekeeping. You either have a shelf on or you have a buyback on. And Raj is a world-class operator. So is AJ. So is TJ. So is Farhan. This guy they just brought on the board, Malcho, is a serious motherfucker. These guys all are varsity Hall of Fame members. And I told Raj, AJ, Farhan, I said, you guys are used to working at big companies, Qualcomm, Micron, Cypress, places like that. Those companies have earnings and revenue. Right now, good, bad, or indifferent, Enovix is a story stock. You need to be very conscious of the story and the 34 million shit disturbers that are out there, and they look to pull on every single string for this thing to fail or to scare people. And truth be told, the skeptics have no fucking clue on Gen 2. None of their story relies on Gen 2. They have no clue if Gen 2 is going to work. And frankly, I have no clue if Gen 2 is going to work. But I believe it will, because on a Spaces call that Reyes and I did, and we talked about meat on the bone and weight of the evidence, the weight of the evidence is the U.S. Army sure likes it. I've seen the machinery go in the conference call video. Samsung sure likes it. In my opinion, Facebook really likes it. We've seen BrakeFlow work. Every sign indicates that this thing is a go. But it's speculative, which is why it's 13 or 14 or 23 or 22, depending on what day you look at it. But you know what? That's why I love this thing. I love it because I think if it works, it will be something you'll tell your kids about. If it doesn't work, we're looking at a $3 number, and it's a mistake. But I've made mistakes. I'm not afraid of making a mistake. I am not afraid. I play to win the game. I don't play not to get hurt. I play full tilt. Y'all don't have to play like me. You don't have to be in it or out of it or whatever. But I think this thing is great. TJ thinks this thing is bigger than Enphase. And the market is bigger than Enphase. So we'll just have to see. And whether factory acceptance, they announce it on August 28th, 29th, September 2, September 4. I just don't care. I just want to see what happens here. I just believe this thing to be the case. And again, you can agree with me, you can disagree with me. I'm entitled to an opinion. My opinion is based on the player and what this thing can be. I'm a huge believer in TJ. I'm a believer in his process. He doesn't have any kids. He is driven. He is nasty. He is focused. He is up all the time working on this thing. And I like that. That shit turns me on. And I think he's going to get this thing right. But the battery works as advertised. It's as good as advertised. So we'll see on factorance acceptance testing. Well, they're going to a Morgan Stanley conference on September 11th. Maybe they'll get an update on production. I don't know. But I want to reiterate, Greg Reyes, if you like him, don't like him, think he's great, don't like his views, it doesn't matter on whether or not Enovix is going to execute. Same with me. And if you want to listen to people who are just interested in clicks and clout chasing and bullshit like that, you'll get confused and you'll get taken out of your game. So have patience, do your own work, figure it out, follow everything, and you know, it is what it is. So we'll see. That's why they play the game. That's why I'm still interested in doing this and trying to figure it out. So how's that? Does that answer you at all?
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Mark.
Okay. Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Hey guys, real quick, we'll do order by hand. So if you want to speak with Mark, put your hand up, and we'll take them in a controlled manner. And also, please retweet the space call so that we can let everybody know this thing's going on. Thank you. So I think PJ had her hand up first.
Hi, Mark. I wanted to say thank you for yesterday for answering those questions, but I pondered them really long and hard last night, and it was that some people are above the law. And then I think back when, Nate Anderson was on the call just now, and I think back to when he called out Carl Icahn. So how can Adam Aron walk when a legend, a storied legend of Wall Street go down? I don't understand this. I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around this whole thing, and again, how it can be algorithmically traded to the narrative of Antara and Adam Aron. It's just in broad daylight with no supply and demand coming into our capital markets and these securities. It's mind-blowing to me, and I would just love some more thought on it.
Well, let's say we're about halfway through the day, and I think AMC's traded 145 million shares. and apes traded, I don't know.
A little over 90 million.
Yeah. And first of all, the regulators don't care. Second of all, Aron doesn't care. And the bond guys who've traded and made the correct bet here have made an absolute fortune on the backs of Joe Sixpack. Now, hopefully Aron gets investigated. Hopefully the influencers who hyped this thing and told people it wasn't, it was a so-called dividend, get everything looked at, and we'll see. But the markets are broken, the government's broken, everything is broken, so nothing works. Which is why I tried, and you know this, and Spence knows this, right when this ape thing was announced, I begged people to get the fuck out of this thing, that this is an absolute disaster. I said, he's going to dilute the living fuck out of everybody. And, Gasparino did something on it. Gasparino tried to get Aron on with me. He wouldn't. And I said exactly what this was, and it's exactly what it is. It's an unmitigated disaster at the expense of poor working class people to benefit Apollo, the bond guys, Mudrick, and a few others. And it's a tragedy. It's an absolute tragedy.
I also thought, sorry, Mark, go ahead.
Of what this guy did and what he's gotten away with so far. But, hopefully the process works. These things take a long time to investigate. It takes even longer to litigate. But it's there in plain daylight. No one gives a fuck about naked short selling. People just don't care. It is what it is. It's okay to do if you're a broker dealer. It's okay to do if you're an option market maker. It's not okay to do if you're a hedge fund. It's not okay to do if you're an individual. It's illegal if that's your story. But if not, it's totally legal. So these guys can set it up, and they can short or sell this thing into oblivion, which is exactly what I thought would happen. And here's the thing I struggle with. I could have shorted the living fuck out of this thing at $25 and $20 and 18 and 16. But my word actually matters. My word actually matters to me. It actually matters to be honest. And I can't, with a straight face, tell people I'm not shorted when in fact I am. And Grant Williams, who's my pal, and he's great. He did those Real Vision. He did some Real Vision stuff with me. And he suggested when I was doing my mimetic stuff, he says, why don't I just cover mimetics so I'm not viewed as a short seller and just speak truth to power that way? So I did it like he said. I covered my last couple 100,000 mimetics at a very low price and still carried on. And I still got my ass in trouble. And I still got hassled by the same amount of things. Because when you're a skeptic and you're known as a short seller, and again, I don't want to get hung on this statement, but that's like being a black man in the Deep South in the 1950s. You just can't shake the bias against you. And it's really unfortunate, but it is what it is. So I was never short AMC. I was accused of being short AMC. I could have made tens of millions of dollars being short AMC, but I wasn't, right? I was long it, as Edwin said. I thought they should, and they should have done a deal with T0. I lost $1 million being long the stock, and it was bad, and I lost. Wasn't the first time, won't be the last. Then I realized what a complete and utter thug Aron is, and tried to right a wrong, and still criticized to this day. So I don't know what to tell you, PJ. I mean, hopefully he and the situation gets investigated. Hopefully. I don't know if it will be, and we'll see. We'll see what happens. But it's an absolute tragedy what has gone on here, and the emails and DMs and all that stuff I get, about, one story is more tragic and worse than the next. But again, I'm just a guy doing my thing, and I can't solve everything. I just can't. I try, but I can't.
And Mark, to that regard, I think often about how much contact we have with other CEOs, who's watching, who's laughing, or who's trying to help, and there isn't anyone else trying to help. I can't imagine that all the CEOs that are watching this go down are silent. What about their craft? What about their profession? Don't they take any pride and have any integrity? This kills me to watch them all.
No. They're making between $15 and $30 million a year. And Jamie Dimon wants to criticize short sellers for exposing criminal banks, and he's probably making somewhere between 25 and 50 a year with options, and they just don't care. I mean, one of the problems why things don't work is no one cares anymore. They just care about themselves and how fast they can make a dollar.
And
That's all it is. That's all it is.
And to that regard,
And
you really stand out, Mark. You have separated yourself from this band of meritless, spineless humans. And I thank you for that.
well, you're very kind to say that, PJ. Very kind.
Cool. Thank you, PJ. Always an absolute pleasure. I think Mike was next. Peace sign, Mike. Go ahead.
Yeah, Spence, thanks so much. Hey, Mark, thank you. Listen, you've always been very generous with your time and your insights, and on Twitter and on these space calls, and it's much appreciated. Two quick questions, and I'll step aside for you to answer. Just one, back on the NFX and mentioning the announcement of the shelf offering, and I guess you kind of answered it, but just to put a finer point on it, just surprising. Do you think just because of TJ and Raj and them being such associated with larger cap companies, they don't understand what the news flow and how it affects smaller cap companies? That's question kind of one, or they kind of maybe learning that a little bit more as they go by. That's question one. And then question two is along the same lines. Obviously, NFX and Overstock, I'm sure they wake up in the morning focused on growing and executing the business first and foremost. But in the C-suite, are there conversations that go on when they see pullbacks, what's happened in both these stocks in the last month or so, to the degree that they have, and do they have conversation about that, or they just take it as it is and continue just to focus on the business? Thanks for your insights.
Well, let's talk about Overstock first. If I can pull off what I'm working on, I will make public eventually what the process was about, and I'm working my fucking ass off on something. Working my ass off, and I hope it happens. I really do. I hope it happens. But these guys have to fucking deal with me. And I'm not small. And when people say I'm not involved, if they were worth anything, I'd go after them. But again, under the Reggie Jackson analysis, I hear it, I ignore it, but it motivates me. So yeah, Overstock knows where the stock is. Yeah, the guys at Enovix know where the stock is. But some of these guys, Raj, I said to Raj, Raj is a tennis player. I said, you wear a different pair of tennis shoes when you're on grass, on clay, on hard, right? You wear different tennis shoes, and maybe you use a different racket. These guys are real guys. Raj did Snapdragon with Qualcomm. Raj would have run that NXP acquisition if the government would allowed it. He's a serious motherfucker. In his mind, he didn't think the shelf would knock the stock down 25% because it's sheer stupidity. Now, if sociopaths who have no string to pull want to make that a big deal, make it a big fucking deal. I could give a fuck. Okay? If they can get Dorsey, who's on the spectrum, all geared up to try to make me look silly on various names, great. That didn't work out so well for Edwin. So honestly, I care, and my focus is on Gen 2. My focus is on OEM agreements. I told them what I would do, but I also told them I've never run a company before. You have the relationships. This is what I think. Here's how you thread the needle. Here's where we go. And the other thing is really pissed me off, and I'll set the record straight. That shit with TJ and me in the brewery, that's a fucking joke. That's like you going to your buddy's wife and saying, God, if you were single, we'd really have fun, and thinking I'm going to do something with her. It's just fucking stupid to think that I'm serious on every single thing I say. And by the way, hold everyone else up to the criticism you hold me to. Look at Chanos' track record. Look at Hempton's track record. Look at Eliaf Athlene's track record, who took 2 short-only funds to 0. Look at everyone's track record and look at what I publicly talk about. And hold these guys up against the exact same thing you hold me up against. It's just silly. But yeah, Overstock knows where the stock is. Yeah, Enovix knows where the stock is. Yeah, everyone knows that this whole thing on the shelf is stupid. But what are they going to say? They have batteries to fucking produce. Overstock has goods to sell. Overstock has a transition from the Overstock brand to the Bed Bath & Beyond brand. It's not easy to do on the fly. I think they're doing great, but that's my opinion. Do I know? Hell no, I don't know. But it's my opinion. And I'm not afraid to give my opinion. But it's just that, an opinion. It's just that. So, yeah, they know where the stock is. Yeah, the shelf is stupid. I'm excited to see what they say with factory acceptance testing. And we'll see. The chips will fall where they may. That's what I know.
Good stuff. Thanks as always, my friend. Really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks for the question. I think Fundo was up next. He was one of the first ones in the call, so you have the floor, Fundo.
Oh, thanks there. Hi, it's Dave. Dave Knight. Yeah, we've spoken a few times before. Mark, as ever, really appreciate everything you do, and your bluntness. You're fucking amazing. Yeah. I aspire to be like you, mate. Really, I do.
Be careful what you wish for. It's not as good as it seems.
No, I'm already getting a taste of it, and I'm prepared to go down the rabbit hole if it makes some change.
Did you have a question for Mark Fundo? Or?
Well, yeah, I guess the question would be like, where does he feel the most change could be made?
Wait, say that. I didn't understand. Say that again. What change could be made?
Where does Mark feel like the most change can be made in, with regard to fraud and mismanagement and these kinds of things?
Spence, do you understand what he's saying?
I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, Fundo, you're asking where the most money can be made based on company mismanagement? I think we're
Let's go to Sean. He's been following this Overstock. I want to hear what he has to say. Go ahead, Sean.
Hey, Mark. Hey, Spence. Thank you for allowing me to join. My question on Overstock is, are you able to explain to me what exactly is the short thesis? I'm searching high, I'm searching low. I am not understanding what are the shorts really using to validate their conviction. I'm doing all the homework that I can. I look for all the data points, and it's like everything seems to show that tailwinds are pushing Overstock to a point where the sales are 4 times they normally would be in the last quarter. The app is giving high rankings. Everything shows the right way, but I'm being laughed at like, ha ha ha, you're the long that keeps being overly convicted, and we shorts know this is going to go this way. Help me understand this as a short seller. How am I wrong here? Or what am I? I mean, I know I'm right, but why am I having to feel as though I need to defend this position position so much, or other investors as well?
Well, welcome to my world, but I try not to defend it. I just operate conviction, and I'm very hard on myself. And I think the new app and the new name's a huge success. And honestly, I don't really give a fuck what anyone thinks, and I don't care what the shorts think. I just don't care. I'm comfortable in the cash. I'm comfortable in grain chain. I mean, there's an anonymous guy, I'm not going to say the company, literally reaches out to me on Twitter, and he's legit, of exactly what they want to do with grain chain. And I set it up. I set it up with Mossman. I set it up with Luis. I set it up. And it's a serious fucking deal. And the deal can be huge. And people don't have a fucking clue. They don't have a clue because they'd rather look at a chart. They'd rather watch Cartoon Network. They'd rather buy NVIDIA. They'd rather do whatever they need to do to make a quick buck. And no one is looking at your process. And if you're right, you're going to make a shit ton full of money, as will I, as will Fleckenstein, as will Porter, as will others. You know, and here's the other thing I kind of want to say. And you brought me up. I mentioned Porter. So Porter's my pal. I think the guy is like outstanding and awesome. And he's my pal, and I've never even like met him. I've never even shaken his hand. And Fleckenstein's been my pal forever, and I think we've seen each other like 4 or 5 times in our life, right? So Porter's my pal. So I was talking to Porter the other day, and we're talking about Overstock. And he said when it rallied in the mid to high 30s, he sold some. And I laughed, and I said, I actually bought some more, like a fucking fool with the thing at 24. So if you guys want to start picking on me on mistakes, buying Overstock at 35, which you're trading at 25, obviously was a mistake from 3 weeks ago, but, you know, guilty as charged. But, you know, if Porter wanted to sell some, I probably bought it from him. But he's entitled. He's entitled, if he bought it at 20, to sell it at 35, if that floats his boat. Now, you know, people make decisions as they see fit. I don't sit there and go to Porter, why the fuck did you sell it? I just told you shouldn't sell it, blah, blah. Everyone can do whatever they want to do. You just need to focus on you. And Sean, if your process is right and I follow your stuff and I think you're right, we're going to make a shit ton full of money, and we're going to look back and laugh at these guys. And also, right? Don't think I have not forgotten about Sam Antar, Gary Weiss, those 2 fucking clowns who I put into the ground, Nate August, who were all wanting to be short Overstock back in the day at 3, 4, 5, and 6, spreading every fucking story you could imagine. And everyone I knew was in this thing. And it felt like I had an aneurysm in my head that was about to blow. But when it goes from 6 to 120, you don't hear from those clowns ever again. They're done. Done. D-O-N-E, done. And I don't care what the story is. Is the story Bed Bath & Beyond is worse than expected? Maybe. It's not what I believe, but maybe that's the story. But I don't care. I think they will get it right. I think Johnson will get it right. And I have faith in what I'm working on will happen. It's taking a fuckload of time and a fuckload of work, but I think it's going to happen. So we'll see. We will see. But I love your stuff. I'm a huge fan of your work, you know, and I think you're spot on. I really do. But I'm a big fan, and I'm a fan of not many.
Thanks, Mark. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Sean. That was great. Rich, why don't you go ahead?
All right. Well, thanks for having me, and thanks for being up here, Mark. And I'll tell you what, I'll just build off of Sean a little bit, because I was wanting to talk about a few things, and one of them was Overstock, because I think he does some great work as well. And so for those not following him should, because what he gets into is like the difference in the retail side and the difference in what the rebranding has done and what that's looking at as far as numbers. So I think Q3 is just going to blow people away, the earnings. I think that Sean's looking at what I think he's been saying, and I've been following his stuff like 3 or 4 times. The attention. So what's that? Maybe 2-3 times the revenue in Q3 with the retail side, possibly. And so what I would love to see, because it's been talked about, is you can pass this along to the guys, Mark. And I think Sean's been in Fearmonger. I think we're on this thread talking about this kind of stuff. Is the ticker change and the ringing of the bell just maybe right prior to Q3 and just setting things off. And then you go into the holiday season and you've got all these cyber sales and all this kind of stuff going on. And I think it can just skyrocket and overtake Wayfair. And then additionally, whatever it is that Mark's working on, if he's talking about it this much and to this extent, then it's pretty big shit. I'm just going to be honest. It's got to be pretty big. And then you throw in the grain chain. That's big. And one of the questions I was going to have, because Mark's talked about how it cuts out 12 steps or so, something like that in the process. Like, what's that look like? Like, their profits and margins have to be huge. They just have to be huge. And those are just a couple of things on the overstock and grain chain thing that Mark can elaborate on when I'm done. But I have some other stuff I'd like to talk about because it's close to my heart and things that make me appreciate Mark. So,
Sean, all I ask is you don't share how you come up with your numbers, because I think it's ingenious, and I don't want, if it gets too known, I don't want the company to change it, because credit cards aren't tracking their sales yet. So what you're using, I think, is very clever, and I haven't brought it up with anybody, but just kind of keep that on the down low, because I don't want them to change. I mean, look, there's 42 people who follow Wayfair. There's 9 people who follow Overstock. Overstock has 1 buy, the rest are holds. There's no excitement, right? It's not a colorful bunch like Wayfair. That may change. I want to be careful what I say. I know, and I want to put a thought out there for people to at least chew on it and to tell you how pissed off I am sometimes at myself. I was telling my girlfriend the other day that I'm really, really, really down on myself investing-wise. And she said, why? I said, I have all these videos that people sent me of people shoplifting and stealing from Dick's Sporting Goods, carrying all these clothes and shoes out of there. And the Dick's employees were saying, have a nice day, thanks for shopping. And I didn't think of shorting Dick's with all of that theft and shrink going on. And sure enough, what comes out and gets Dick's? All the theft and the shrink. And it was all out there in broad daylight. And I just missed it. And normally I don't miss stuff like that. And the reason I bring that up is Sean, of what he's saying, he's not a sell-side analyst. He's a guy. I don't know where he lives. If he walked past me tomorrow, I wouldn't know who the hell he was. But he has a process that if he's right, Overstock sales will go fucking crazy. And I don't think he's wrong. But you know, this is why we play the game. This is why you invest. This is why you should or should not be in names. And when Sean says, what's the short thesis? I don't know. They don't call me up and say, you should get out of this thing. Here's the short thesis. I don't know what it is. They have a great balance sheet. It's well run. They have great assets. They got plenty of cash. They make money when everyone else is losing money. They got a great new brand. You know, and the stock's 24 down from 120. I don't know what the fuck anyone wants. I mean, if you all want to go buy NVIDIA, go buy NVIDIA or Facebook or whatever the fuck they call themselves these days. I don't know. So I'm with you, Rich. I'm with you, Sean. I just don't know. I mean, I don't know. So we'll see.
Here's a interesting thought on what you were saying, Mark, because I missed Dick's too. I was kind of mad about that. But what happens when all these storefronts close down because they're constantly being robbed, and with COVID starting to pop back up in the U.S.?
Well, I think I'm major pals with a CEO of a major big box retailer, and I think this shrink is here, and I don't think it's changing. And I think big box guys are going to close stores in metropolitan areas. And I think they're going to do it in a big way because you just can't keep up with it. Target shrink in the last 3 years is north of $2 billion. And that's $2 billion of stuff that's just up in thin air. And that's money that could have been donated to women's causes, kids, hunger, cancer research, the whole kit and caboodle. And I don't see it changing. And just a fun fact to know and tell, this guy thinks the worst city in America right now in terms of going downhill is Portland, Oregon. That's just a fun fact to know and tell. And he thinks Portland's going to absolute shit. So that's what I got.
Well, I don't disagree with that. So I think we had next. Hey, Rich, did you want to follow up with something?
I got one other thing to say just because it's kind of close to my heart and it allows me to appreciate Mark. And for all the haters that are on here that get on to him about his AMC going ons, I would like to say a couple things. One is, Mark may have got something wrong there. But what he got wrong was he just misread AA. And when AA didn't do something, he got out. And then that was his thesis creep, so he got out. Well, the thing is the tokenization would have worked. And I've always thought that there was more to it than just the digital dividend. And one of my theories is that in addition to the digital dividend, similar to kind of like what Overstock did, I always thought that he gave AA maybe the opportunity and ideas to like digitize characters like Disney characters and Marvel characters and all of this kind of stuff. And they could have raised a bucket load of money. And the other thing I would like to bring up, and this is where it really hits home to me because it has turned my life around as far as investing goes, is after Mark sold, he stuck around. He did space calls. You know why? Because he's trying to educate a bunch of unsophisticated people new to the market, me included. I'm right there at the top. And just trying to help them out and not to just know to learn about the downfalls of AMC, but kind of like how the market works. I mean, why did he come do a space call right at the week before APE was going to be distributed? Why would Mark do that? Well, because Mark's trying to help a bunch of kind of innocent and unsophisticated folks. And so for all of his haters out there and whatever kind of flack he gets from fellow sophisticated professional investors, well, I was at the bottom rung of a ladder and I'm not near the top rung, nowhere close. But I'll tell you what, I'm a rung or two higher than I would have been if it wasn't for Marc Cohodes. And that's because he took the time and effort beyond trying to help a bunch of unsophisticated people. And I appreciate him. And for all of his haters, if that gets you some satisfaction to know that there's a handful of people that you did help, Mark, you need to know that.
Well, I'm lucky to know you, Rich. Thank you for the kind words. You too, Spence. You too, Spence. You and I always don't disagree, but I'm better for knowing you, that's for sure.
Well, I appreciate that very much. And I got to say, one of the biggest things of the past year or 2 years or 3 was you helping out Signature Bank retail investors on the put side and literally getting Vlad Tenev to change the Robinhood policy to accept exercising of those options. They were going to rip everyone. So you did the win of the century there helping retail. Nobody can argue that. So thank you very much.
Yeah. Well, Mr. Dorsey seemed to sort of gloss over that point and rather focus on my non-position in Nikola, which, again, it's just really strange how stuff like that has to happen. That's
Yeah,
all.
revenue streams generated from engagement on social media tend to corrupt people. That's all I'll say about that. So, let's go with Kumar. You're up.
Hey, what's going on, Mark?
Hey, Kumar.
Guess we have a few things to go back and forth on. So you know how DTCC and all of these complex structures within the world of markets function and have dysfunction, right? I imagine you also know how like offshore entities and stuff introduce a lot of complexity. And you also know the nature in which, you know, there's kind of a gray market of funds that don't really have source of funds analysis performed on them in any viable way when they enter the U.S. And you kind of know. I think you have a good understanding of the gray market, the black market, and you know the compliant market. And so, knowing all those things, can you explain T0 in more simple terms? As because they have a lot of capabilities. I've been looking through the website and you know getting in contact with people at the company, and they have a lot of infrastructure, right?
Yes.
Can you talk about, in simpler terms, if you were to kind of try to explain it to an alien coming to planet Earth, can you explain the relevance of T0 to mankind in terms of why they're building all the stuff they're building? Does that make sense? Like,
Perfect. So let's just call it T0 101. So T0 from a structure standpoint is owned 25% by ICE, symbol ICE, which owns the New York Stock Exchange. Probably 50% owned by Pelion/Overstock, and the rest by a handful of people. And what T0 can, will, and is able to do is they can trade digital securities, they can trade tokenized securities, they can trade fractional ownership, they could trade private securities, private companies. They could trade partial interests in private funds. They can trade people. They can tokenize and trade Kim Kardashian or Patrick Mahomes or art or the future of a horse or college athletes or Dominican baseball players. They can tokenize and trade anything. And they can do it 24/7, 365. They can trade real estate projects, hotels where you buy a token, and with each token you get 30% discount per night. They can tokenize casinos. They can tokenize drugs. Instead of a company having to raise $70 million and it being in a public company, they could tokenize one-off drugs. They can do fractional ownership and trade anything. And that's where I think it's going. And they can also trade regular securities on a same-day settlement where the securities are on the blockchain. So there will be no corruption. There will be no 6 times of the security appearing.
so let me ask you.
Things like that. So when you say they can do or anything, yeah, they can. Yeah. And the reason, you know, I'm 63. And sometimes I behave like I'm 14. Sometimes I behave like I'm 63. And I make no apologies for that. The guy who runs T0, I brought him into the company. I recruited him. And I did the ICE T0 deal, where ICE invested hard-earned money into T0. The guy who runs T0, David Goon, walks from $4 million a year in W-2 salary to run T0 for 6% of the company, 7% of the company. Obviously, he believes this is the next big thing. Obviously, ICE, who's a visionary outfit, Spreckler's a smart man and can see the future. Obviously, ICE does not think the future is making 0.5 cent a trade on the New York Stock Exchange that these digital securities and tokenization is. So what this turns into, big, small, indifferent, failure, who knows? But they will have a shot. They will have a shot in the starting gate of the Kentucky Derby. And how big this thing can be, we'll see. And what froths my ass on this John Hempton fake, right, whose performance is shit and is irrelevant, is he sees fit to call T0 a Ponzi scheme. And I've known Hempton from where he wore his pajamas in Australia when I was working on Learn Out and Houseby in the 90s. I've known him that long. And I WhatsApped him and said, knock it off with calling T0 a Ponzi. You don't even know what a Ponzi is, you dumb fuck. And he doesn't. He just uses words to try to become relevant to make fun of this thing. But he doesn't know what it is. He doesn't know their balance sheet. He doesn't know they don't pay out money. They don't take in money to pay out money. He doesn't know they have $60 million in cash and not burning it. They don't know shit. But he thinks he can talk like a big shot guy and try to belittle something I'm involved in. What that gets him, I don't know, other than pissing me off and gets me a little more focused. And I have issues in my life. I have plenty of them. Plenty of issues, plenty of problems, the whole gamut like everyone else. But focus is not one of them. That is not one of my issues. And I am keenly focused on trying to help and see if this thing can work. Does that help you out, Mark?
It does, and can I go back and forth with you a little bit on this?
Yep.
So then what's the viable beachhead for a new contender in the securities market?
Good luck. You know, you got to register with the SEC. You have to get approved by the SEC. You got to get approved by FINRA. I don't think they're exactly handing those out. Otherwise, Coinbase would have it, right?
No, sorry, that's not what I meant. What I meant to ask is, with T0, there's different modalities of investors. There's qualified purchaser, there's accredited investor, then there's retail, and I'm sure there's further modalities I don't even know about. What asset class do you think T0 can bring to bear that's gonna allow them to beachhead and steal some of the market from existing, institutions, so to speak?
I think a cross between private companies, sports, and real estate entertainment.
Got it. Good to know. Thank you. That was
when I say sports, let's say you and I were in the Dominican Republic, and our man Domingo Rodriguez is a shortstop at some high school there, and he hits the ball a mile, and he's fast as hell. He has a great arm, and he's a great fielder. What if we went to him and said, here's some money up front, right? We'll be your agent, and we want 10% of all your contracts going forward, right? We'll give you $500,000 now. If you drop dead, that $500,000 is yours. If you get thrown in jail, the $500,000 is yours. If you hurt yourself, the $500,000 is yours. But if you sign a Fernando Tatis Jr. contract that pays you $750 million over 15 years, we get 10% of that, right? So what if instead of you and I doing that, these people, these youngsters, as a group decide to tokenize and trade themselves on T0? And as they get better, their token trades and goes up and down depending on how they do. Would you have liked a Fernando Tatis Jr. token at 75 cents? right? When he was a 16-year-old playing third base in the Dominican. Now he has a $750 million contract. The token probably would have gone from 50 cents to maybe 800, right? And it will give people a way to tokenize sports, right? And sports is a lot more than baseball worldwide. It includes soccer, rugby, football, hockey, anything. Pro, college, high school, teams, horses, art, real estate. The second they get it going, what stops it? What stops it? I'll tell you what won't stop it is JP Morgan or Goldman Sachs or someone like that, unless they buy them or buy into it. And as the first questioner said, why is your valuation at 200 to 500 million? Because if I used a bigger number, people would think I'm crazy.
Think about all the ball card trading sports market that would flood to the platform to trade athletes.
So then the one of the problems with securities today is there's a lot of, you have to deal with an investment bank to list your company, and that's a whole process. It costs a lot. There's different modalities of listing. I'm not going to pretend to understand that, but does this make it a lot easier to list an asset and go through that process if the lister is interested in engaging?
I think it's called the Reg D filing. Yes, it's a whole lot easier. What if In-N-Out, instead of going public, decides to do something on T0? You think people would want to buy stock in In-N-Out, even though it would be a private company where they sell a partial interest that trades? That what if the New York Stock Exchange uses T0 as a farm team? I mean, there's a whole lot of ways this can cut. But it's up to David Goon, and David Goon is betting big that this works. Otherwise, he'd still be at ICE making $4 million a year.
The necessary conditions for success are unprecedented asset access, is what I would call it, and then maybe a groundswell of investors. Is that?
Yeah.
Would you say those are the two? For
T0 and my thing is, my only concern is the technology works. If the technology works, I think this thing is going to be bigger than big. And I'm going to drag fucking Hempton's ass from fucking Australia through the ocean, through India, through the North Pole, through the South Pole, till he won't even be recognizable when this thing works.
And what are the biggest challenges?
The technology.
A big one.
Technology. They get the technology to work. This is happening.
So it's a token that represents a security on an exchange. Is that the basic?
That's one way. That's one way of doing it. It's a token that represents a security, or I can tokenize you, right? Or I could tokenize one of your projects, or I can tokenize myself, or I could tokenize Mahomes. I mean, what if the Kardashian family would have tokenized 5 years ago or 10 years ago? The girl who does the makeup. I'm not a pop culture guy. Well, what's the girl's name who has the makeup, the youngest one? Kylie, I think. Or whatever. One of the Kardashian girls came up with a makeup line that she sold for $1 billion to somebody, right? What if her mom, the manager, tokenized all the Kardashian girls and you got 10% of their income for life in the form of a dividend, right? And all of a sudden, this kid starts with a makeup line that sells for $1 billion. Let's say the token was $1. Where do you think it would go to? 1,000? 200? And these things can trade. And it represents utility. And in terms of the St. Regis and Aspen, which is already trading there, you can get it if you buy enough of the tokens, you get a 30% discount a night there. And Stefan de Betz, who in my mind will forget more about tokenization than anyone will ever know, times 6. He's an investor in this thing. He's my friend. He is lights out on tokenization, and he's a guy there. He's a serious fucking player.
I feel like tokenization of patents would be a big thing too for extra added security from IP theft from like CCP and stuff. I think that would be really something.
I don't know about that, but I do have another question with reporting. You know, obviously we trade on exchanges, and the reporting is done quarterly. Do you think that'll be the same for this new type of exchange that lists things and allows us to trade on them? Do you think it will be quarterly?
No, it could be annually. For all that matters, it's up to the token and the terms of what comes out. Let's say I tokenize Patrick Mahomes. He doesn't need to report his numbers quarterly. I mean, there's nothing to do. It's just once a year, here it is, and he kicks out a dividend as a percentage of what he makes, or a music library, or Taylor Swift. What if you tokenize Taylor Swift? Where would she trade at? Right? I mean, right now, these guys sell their music libraries for a lump sum to private equity. Taylor Swift was bitching about that. What if all of a sudden she decides to take all her new stuff and tokenize song by song? What if you could buy a Taylor Swift song? I mean, I'm pals with the Collective Soul guys. I was talking to those guys about tokenizing individual songs going forward. What if you hear a song and you're able to buy a token and or, stock in the song and say, I'm making a bet that this thing's a hit? As Spence said, if you want to be as crude as baseball cards, I mean, I'm older than all of you, I could have had a Mickey Mantle baseball card as a kid for 10 cents or 5 cents. And it's now worth what? $500,000? And so what if you just tokenize stuff like that and someone becomes a star? So in terms of what this can be, it's literally, in my mind, open-ended. But again, my thing is technology has to work. Otherwise, it's called vaporware. And if the technology doesn't work, then sadly, that Hempton would look right. And I'm determined that that's not the case. Determined. So I think, we'll have to sort of like wait and see. But my deal is, my thing is, measure 5 times, cut once. It has to work. Factory acceptance in the Enovix Gen 2 line, it needs to work. They need to produce batteries at speed. There is no doubt about that. That has to happen. The T0 technology has to work. There is no other option. So if it's late, so fucking what? So what? It has to work. And these guys are focused on getting it right, which is where I think you want your focus. So, I mean, again, we'll see. But the good news is, with T0 dragging their feet and making sure the technology's right and making sure they get it right, the good news is everyone who wanted to compete with them, everyone who was competing with them is out of business. They are bust. They are a non-factor. And we got David Goon and we have ICE. That's what we got. So, bring it on as far as I'm concerned.
Just to get an idea of the amount of head start with having all the compliance certificates, that's what I'm going to refer to them as, licenses, that takes years to get, correct?
Yeah. I mean, I think with this Coinbase fiasco, I don't think the SEC is letting a lot of people through the door. In the wild card, and it's a wild card, and I know absolutely nothing here. What if T0 and ICE, aka the New York Stock Exchange, go to the SEC and say, we can solve Coinbase's problem because we can trade this shit. What's the path to clear these securities, right, that we view and you view as securities? What's the path to clear these securities so they can fucking trade? So they can trade on our platform, because they can't trade on Coinbase. What's the platform? What's the way we can get these securities, which are unregistered right now, to get them registered and trade on the platform? How do we do that? Because if there's ever an announcement that ICE and T0 have reached an agreement to trade these coin-based securities that are under question? That will be someday. That will be someday. So, we have a world-class guy running this company. World-class. And he's not as nasty as TJ. He's not as focused on TJ. But he's right up there, this David Goon. He is right up there. And he has and takes tremendous pride in his work. And he's my friend. So just because someone's my friend doesn't mean I'm also hard on them. I'm a competitor. I play to win here. And I expect to win. So we'll see. But it's a really good question. Did I do a decent job of explaining it?
Yes, give me a lot of context. Thank you.
Perfect. Thanks.
Thanks for all the questions, Kumar. That was a really great exchange. We'll go to Binance, and then we'll move up to Not Tiger.
Hi, Mark. This is Jack Friedman. I enjoyed hearing your conviction about the team at Enovix because there's very few fantastic leadership teams, in my opinion. And it's kind of been instilled in me that many startups fail, and that's why the teams matter so much. And so I'm constantly looking at some companies that I think can turn it around. I like the CEO at Foot Locker. I like the team at a startup beauty company called Walden Class, and I'm still deciding whether to invest. But could you mention another investment that you enjoyed making in the past where the CEO leading the company convinced you to make that investment?
The CEOs don't really convince me. Most of them are like scared of me because they think I'm going to short their stock. But a guy who stands out, who's like really, really, really good is this Marcus Lemonis. I mean, Marcus is really good. And another guy who is beyond driven. And when Camping World was in the soup, and Saflo can remember this. This is PAA guy who you should all subscribe to. He does wonderful work. I'm pals with a big holder of Camping World in Boston. And I was always asking him about it because I thought Marcus was a business genius, but the company was over leveraged and the stock got hit during COVID. And I was thinking, fuck, with this COVID, these RVs or trailers are sort of like a way to get around and sort of be quarantined, but be able to move. So the stock was like $5 and highly leveraged. And everyone was short this thing because they thought he was going to go broke. So I go to my pal. I said, will you introduce me to Lemonis? And he said, yeah. So I called up Lemonis and I said, I'm pals with David. And he says, yeah. I said, I'm really intrigued with your company. And I said, can you go broke right here? And his voice was like cracking. He said, we are not going to go broke. He said, I made a mistake in making an acquisition, which gave us too much debt. And my life's mission right now is to focus on getting this thing going. And we are not going broke, and I will get this thing going. And his voice was literally cracking. And I bought the living fuck out of the stock, the living fuck out of this thing. And I bought call options, and I put on call spreads. And again, I talked to Saflo about this as I was doing it. And since I bought it, Camping World has paid out $6 in dividends and special dividends, and now the stock's 25, and it's down from 42. But this Lemonis is a serious, serious operator. And he didn't tell me to buy the stock, but when I asked him flat up, can you go broke? He said no, because he was so driven to fix this thing and run it. And I have tremendous respect for this guy. Respect and admiration, tremendous. So that's the most recent thing close to that. And we became pals. And I think he's fantastic. Again, controversial character because people, see him on TV and they want to poo-poo him, but I would never poo-poo him, ever. And there's two sides to every coin, and I think he's great, just great. So that's the closest I can come to that. Does that help you at all?
It's excellent. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, Tiger, what's up?
What's up, everybody? Good to hear from you, Spence. How are you, Mark? I actually just wanted some clarification on something in regards to T0, because I think obviously they're regulated, and they got all their licenses, and they're a legal business. So I think that's where they have the advantage against Coinbase. On the register, or was I muted?
No. I have you.
Oh, yeah.
I can hear you.
No, so on T0, I just wanted some clarification on something because I don't obviously follow it as closely as you do. But I know they're regulated, and on the securities front, whether they're registered or unregistered, I think just at face value from what I see, I think like the advantage that I see with T0, and maybe I'll dig into it more, or you can clarify it here. But I think what people miss about the Coinbase problem, and it doesn't seem like T0 has that problem, is it's actually less about the unregistered securities factor and more about how Coinbase has a business that is riddled with conflicts of interest. So I don't really see that at face value with T0, right? So I think that people get too hung up on Coinbase trading unregistered securities, and they don't spend as much time giving attention to the fact that their business will probably be broken up. Maybe they have like the exchange and clearinghouse as one business, and then they have like the broker dealer as another business or something. But I think that's where I see their biggest problem. It's less about the unregistered securities part and more about the conflicts of interest that they have. So I don't see that with T0. Is that accurate, Mark?
That's accurate. I think the fact that ICE is T0's partner,
Right,
I think is quite good. And I think when they unwrap it, and there's always a first for everything, when they unwrap it and people say, ooh, this is something, I think you will have every brokerage firm in the world wanting to partner with these guys, which will take the valuation beyond through the roof. That's one. Two, and listen to this carefully, folks, it wouldn't surprise me if a casino would want to partner with them.
it's actually interesting that you mentioned that, because I had this funny thought that if Coinbase just recategorized themselves as a casino, that's fine. There are actually some quote unquote crypto exchanges offshore that are characterized as casinos, that they don't call themselves exchanges. They literally call themselves.
Yeah, well, I mean, Coinbase could call themselves a casino, but my thinking along the line is, I can't say show of hands, or maybe I can say show of hands of people who are engaged in, fantasy football,
Yeah.
or fantasy basketball. Anyone do that kind of stuff in the football season? So imagine if somehow money or performance were to go to players who'd be tokenized. Imagine if you can tokenize players and get the NFL Player Association involved, where players are tokenized, where they get a cut of fantasy football and these things trade.
Smart, yeah.
How big's that market?
Huge.
How big's that market?
Huge. I don't know off the top of my head, but it's huge.
Yeah. So that's just one, for lack of a better term, vertical they could go if this tokenization starts to go or starts to work. Now, it's a long way between here and there, and we'll see what happens. But there is no limit if they can get the technology to go. And they've been working on getting the technology right for the better part of a year and change. So just because no one hears anything, or it's not touted, or it's not, on the Cartoon Network, doesn't mean it's not happening or being worked on.
100%.
So everyone, I know it's bad to say everyone needs patience. That's not the right word, because people will argue they've been very patient, and I get it, but it's no small task to get the thing right. So, again, we'll see. Proof will be in the pudding.
Yeah. And the last thing I wanted to ask you is about, obviously they're under now, but, SCN and Signet, now that they're under the control of the U.S. government, it seems like the kimonos of those blockchain networks or quasi blockchain networks are now open, right? And today we had a pretty big indictment of Tornado Cash. They were indicted for violating OFAC laws, money laundering, blah blah blah. I'm sure they used SCN and Signet at some point. So it seems like now that the kimonos of those networks are open, and the government is looking at what occurred on those networks to the tune of 2 trillion transactions over the course of a couple of years, $2 trillion in transactions, not 2 trillion transactions, but it seems like these indictments are going to ramp up, and I think I have to confirm this, but I think the guys of Tornado Cash were arrested in Dubai. And everyone thinks that because Cheng Seng Pao is in Dubai, he's safe. But there is actually a special exception that the UAE government makes. Even though they don't have an official extradition treaty with the United States, they do have an exception for criminal activity and terrorist financing. So I think that now that those networks are under view of the government, I think you're going to see those DOJ indictments ramp up in the few months ahead, and a year. So what do you think about that?
There's a lot cooking. I don't know the speed of the government, but I know those guys need to build cases, and things always take longer than people think.
Sure.
So also, I'm not, some stuff I know I can't talk about, and I just think things are going to take time. But I think there's a process. I think there's a pecking order. I think it happens. I said the progression goes FTX, Silvergate, Signature, Binance, Tether. That's my look, and I continue to feel that.
We agree there.
Way.
We agree there, man. That's all I got. But thanks, Mark, and thank you, Spence.
Absolutely, bud. Thanks for coming in. Good to hear from you. I guess let's roll back to Rich, and then we'll go to Kumar. And again, if anybody else wants to come up and speak, just raise your hand when I bring you up as speaker.
So this is kind of going back my question to Mark, because I'm always speculating on T0 and tokenization because I have a very strong passion about it. You were hitting around about fantasy football. So my podcast that I was able to do maybe a month or two ago, and I talked about using, my brother and I, we created a game with baseball cards when we were young and used the back of the baseball cards as statistics to play a game. I wasn't that far off. Is that right?
No, you're not far off. Again, there's a lot of moving parts, but no one, Goon is not thinking small. He's not thinking small.
Well,
and I think there's ample money and opportunity around. It doesn't do anyone any good to talk a big game and make all sorts of promises that you can't keep, whether or not something works. Then you'll look like a fool. You got one shot here. You got one shot to get this thing right, for it to go big. It's just like, that Spaces call I had set up this morning crashed. And that DeSantis, when he did his campaign thing, and they were doing their big Spaces thing, that crashed. When you go and crash in technology, it's not good. It's not okay. People won't like it. I can't let this rascal Hempton look like he knows what he's doing, because he doesn't. He doesn't. So it's important to get things right. I keep saying it, but the limit in T0 is the tech, because the market is there. The market is there to tokenize illiquid assets, whether it's a horse, whether it's a building, whether it's a work of art, whether it's the collective soul music library. The markets are there. The business is there. The TAM is there. It's a matter of getting the technology to work, which is easier, frankly, than the SEC FINRA approval they got. That's not so easy to get, especially in this day and age. And, these guys at ICE are not stupid, and they put their money in this thing. And why would David Goon leave ICE as the chief strategy guy to go be the CEO of T0 if it was a so-called Ponzi? Hempton, if he lived in the United States, would get his ass fucking sued. He still may get his ass sued living in Australia if he keeps it up. But we'll see. We'll see. I'd rather sit where I sit than sit where he sits, I'll tell you that.
Well, there is no limit with tokens, and in my opinion, and you've just got, anytime you're start assigning assets to the other side of the coin, you can just do all kinds of crazy and really cool things. And I don't know, Isaiah Thomas was there within the last year taking pictures with the guys that was posted, and he's not there just signing autographs, I'm sure. And he's in the Hall of Fame and in the union there with the Players Union and all that. And then I think it was Kumar maybe was asking the questions. I've always had the theory that it's just going to change our private and public markets as we know it, and it's going to allow them to work properly again. And I said this on a space call with you before, and probably people are tuned in here that's not tuned in now. I think that, I can't trade or invest as good as you because I'm just not as good as you, but at least we will have the same equipment one day, and therefore everybody's on the same playing field and everybody can have the same opportunities. And that's the way it should be. If you're better, you're just better. If you're not very good at it, then you're not very good at it. But at least we have the same equipment. And I'm really excited about T0. And that's about it.
You and me. Thank you.
Thanks, Rich. Appreciate you, man. Kumar, you got another one for him?
Yeah. Getting back to exchange dynamics, what are your thoughts on like payment for order flow revenue changes? Do you think that's going to change, or that's just hype? Do you have a strong opinion on that?
I mean, I think whoever has the most money on the lobbying side is going to win.
Good to know.
Well, let's see how many people we have here. I'm in a better mood today than I was yesterday.
690 active. We just went down from 800 a little while ago. So
okay, so the 690 are really lucky, because I'll tell a story, and it happens to be completely true. So back when I was working on the Silvergate, trying to take down Silvergate and Signature Bank because of the ramps, I did send letters to the FDIC and all the government guys, and I did send it to Elizabeth Warren and her crew. And I know staffers there, or I used to know staffers there. I've since been chilled because the media decided to make a big deal of it. And I thought it was really important to have bipartisan support. And one of the people from a Republican senator in Tennessee reached out to me, and they were really interested in joining Warren and getting to the bottom of the Silvergate Signature Bank thing. And went on and on and on. And they got the letter, subsequently leaked the letter to Fortune, and Fortune wrote their article about it. And the senior economic guy calls me up and says, "We think your idea is really good, but we can't go for it." I said, "Why can't you go for it?" He said, "Because if we go for it and it happens, Senator Warren looks really good. And we can't let Senator Warren look good. We need to block this so nothing happens." And I say, "You have got to be kidding me." I said, "Like, who got to you? Crypto guys?" And the conversation quickly sort of stopped. So the real answer, Kumar, is who on the Republicans and Democrats get the most in donations to make sure payment for order flow keeps going, or who gets the most donations for it to stop. So when I say things are broken, they're broken that these politicians, by and large, are simply bought and paid for and lobbied into oblivion, where nothing really good happens except where the biggest amount of money goes, which ties into PJ's thing with Adam Aron, and Adam Aron has Apollo roots. And why the real question is Leon Black with his ties to Epstein and what the guy did. How's he not in jail? How's Leon Black still a free man? I mean, God knows what he's paid in fines on all this Epstein stuff. So the system becomes so broken and so fucked up, it doesn't matter what I think which is right, because the money is what buys the policy. And if the money is in favor of payment for order flow, that's where it's going to go. If the money is not in favor of payment of order flow, that's where it's going to go. Just as simple as that. It's why Elon Musk is above the law, and Ken Griffin is above the law, and Jamie Dimon is above the law, and they get fined, but nothing ever happens. So it's just the reality of what it is. And when everyone, blank months or years from now sees all the FOIA stuff that I had to go through with the FBI and the whole crowd, and who was behind it, and what they lied about, and how you gin up things, people will be sickened, and they'll understand why I am the way I am. And if I'm too rough for you, don't follow me. And if you pop off, I'll just simply block you. So does that make sense, Kumar? Does that answer your question in a roundabout way?
Yeah, and I got another one continuing on your complaints about I think you said Sam Antar, the guy from Crazy Eddie's, right?
Yeah, that clown. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Another mentally ill individual.
So I found a lot of the stuff he said fascinating, but on the really older side of what he said about Safra, Lumi, and Hapoalim. And like, have you ever done a Twitter Spaces on Safra, Hapoalim, Lumi, Signature, and the nonsense and rackets that went through all of them?
I would rather straighten my sock drawer. I only can do. There's only so much I can focus on, and I'm really, really, really focused on what I got to be focused on right now. I'm focused on Overstock to get this thing going. So we'll see.
Do you want to talk about Grain Chain a little bit?
I mean, ask me a question on Grain Chain.
Well, yeah, like pretend I'm an alien. I'm looking at planet Earth. Tell me how Grain Chain is relevant. Come on, why not? Let's do it.
That's what you want to say. So let's take it on something very simple like coffee. And probably the most expensive coffee in the world is Jamaican Blue Mountain. I think it's something like $125 a pound. But everyone wants to say they grow Jamaican Blue Mountain coffee, but not everyone does. So the buyer of Starbucks or whoever, right, says, we'll pay you $3 a pound for your coffee, right? We'll go back and test it. And if it tests out as Blue Mountain, we'll send you a check for the difference in 9 months, right? That's what goes on pre-Grain Chain. That's what goes on. And you're sort of left with like no choice because you got green beans. You got to sell them and get ready for next year's crop. And it's a huge distraction. And this is the case with all ag products, whether it's prime beef or grain-fed beef, organic beef, whatever. But what Grain Chain will do is they will put your coffee on the blockchain for what it is. And when you come in, they know exactly what it is. They know exactly what it is. And they say, we'll give you 80 cents on the dollar right now. It's ours. And here you go. Here's your check. And Grain Chain makes it on the software and they make it on that trade. And they do this in every ag product there is. And they're growing at a number like 400 to 500% last year. Maybe 200% this year. So they can do it, when you get Dungeness crab off Eureka, California, instead of the fisherman to the buyer, to the distributor, to the freight forwarder, to the retailer, to your hands. Grain Chain does the entire process and all middlemen are gone. It's sort of directly to the fisherman, to the store. And this has applications in anything from food, grains, commodities, auto parts. Let me repeat, auto parts. And this thing can be huge. So it's kind of a software, blockchain, middleman remover where the customer gets the money, A, up front, and B, it's out of the hands of the middleman where things can get fucked up. I mean, if I'm a crab fisherman or a tuna fisherman, like they have some show where some guy catches all this fancy tuna and they take it to the dock and the guy says, I'll give you 15 a pound. And the guy says, yippee, yippee, yippee. He sells it for 15 a pound. Then the buyer sells it to the distributor. Then the distributor sells it to the forwarder. Then the forwarder sells it to the grocery store distributor. Then the grocery store distributor sells it to the grocery store, and you're paying $36.99 a pound. So that is a very, very, very simplistic way of what grain chain does. And for example, someone, doesn't matter the company, went to a FedEx, UPS, DHL kind of outfit and said, can you do this for us? And they said, no, we can't do it. We don't have the capability of doing it. And someone who follows me on Twitter, owns Overstock, and watched the Medici Day video, no shit, saw what Grain Chain does, contacted Grain Chain, contacted me, contacted Pelion, and sets it up. So the demand is there, and this thing can be huge. You know, but also the pilot, you know, the company may not like the pilot, and these guys will stay in ag. But Overstock owns 30% of it. Pelion owns some, and, you know, we'll see where it goes. How's that? Is that
Very good.
okay?
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, we got 5 more hands up. Mark, after this, how much longer do you plan on going with the call? I'm fine. I just want to ask you your timeline.
Well, we can go a little longer. I think people are getting something out of it, and I think if people get something out of it and they ask detailed questions, you know, I didn't want to upset people from yesterday. So if you got a question, here's your shot, because I woke up this morning with a point to prove. So go ahead. I would take the new people before I take repeat things, just to see who has questions.
Okay, that sounds good. Let's just start with Bobby, and then we'll go with Why Try, then Brandon, and then EQ Research.
Mark, thank you so much for taking the call. First, I want to give a shout out to a ton of the people that I get some of my news from on T0, particularly Jack Campbell, Michael Delving, and Ready to Go.
Those guys are fantastic, just fantastic.
Man, the nuggets of information they throw out are enough to keep me invested. Mark, I want to ask. One of the questions I was going to ask was how to say elevated returns name, and you said it's Stefan Debates.
I think so. Yeah, that's what I call them.
Okay. So somebody else was asking earlier, you know, do you get reports and stuff? I own a couple of different investments that are on T0, including Exodus and Elevated Returns. They post quarterly newsletters that, you know, shareholder letters that, so just throwing that out there. I wanted to ask you, you know, they're doing real estate. What's the low-hanging fruit right now, or why isn't there more low-hanging fruit to pick from T0 with commercial real estate? That seems like the easiest asset to tokenize. It's already been done. And there's some people that have said they're going to do it, but we just don't see them posted on T0 yet.
It's technology, right? It's technology, technology, and technology.
So it would be safe to assume then that people are saying we want to list our asset on T0, and T0 saying we just need a few more weeks or a few more months. We have the approvals we need. We just need a little bit more time to get the technology right.
Yeah. And if I'm a guy in the Caribbean who has eyes on 100 15 to 17-year-old baseball players who could be the next Fernando Tatis Jr., what if they were to announce a deal with T0, they're going to tokenize 100 baseball players? Then what? 100 baseball players, you know, raw prospects start to get tokenized.
Well, I guess I can see that tokenizing.
I guess what I'm trying to say is you can tokenize anything, from art to real estate to people to players to music. You can tokenize anything, right? Delving and some of the crew who you mentioned that T0 has trademarked a whole lot of things, right? A whole lot of things. Those guys can post it. You know, you can send. I'm not technologically savvy. You know, contrary to popular belief, I only have an iPhone. I don't have a computer. So I run the world through my iPhone. So these guys can post up the trademark names that T0 actually has. Now the question is, when do they turn it all on? When do they turn it all on? And therein is the $1 million question. So whether, you know, it's more real estate or bigger real estate or more programs or more ideas, you know, DeBetts is on Twitter. He's smart as fuck. I mean, Clue, get him in on the thing, or maybe I do a spaces with him. Tokenization is going to happen. But I don't want them to tokenize something really good and the whole fucking thing crash, like my spaces crashed this morning. My spaces crashed this morning. And Spence said, your spaces isn't working. You want me to do it? And I said, sure. So for whatever reason, my thing crashed. So that to me is and has been the holdup. And when they come with it, I don't know. But I know they're not sitting around eating cold pizza waiting for the phone to ring, I'll tell you that. I mean, they're on the grind. So, you know, we'll see.
I'll say between you and Tara, space is crashing. I should tokenize myself as the most successful space call holder.
Yeah, I don't believe in coincidence. So there we go. So keep it all going there.
Love you, Mark. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks, Bobby. Appreciate it, man. Why try? We finally got you up.
All right, thanks for taking my call. Mark, I really started listening to you on Hugh Hendry's Acid Capitalist and appreciate your story and the honesty and everything that kind of comes with it and the education you're giving a lot of us here. Most definitely. I'll touch on the tokenization aspect. I don't feel like it's talked about that much, but you know, leveraging those assets via smart contracts to settle, that's going to be coming mainstream, I think. I don't know if you have an opinion on that, and then I'll bring up my second point.
Yeah, I think it'll come mainstream. I think when the dam breaks, it breaks. You know, when the dam breaks, it breaks.
Yeah,
but I don't know, you know, mainstream. I don't know what, you know, ICE is a real outfit and ICE is a real factor. I mean, one thing, I mean, I just had the thought, I mean, ICE is also involved in commodities, right? Cocoa, coffee, sugar. I'm amazed someone hasn't thought about the combination of T0, grain chain, and ICE. Right.
Yeah.
Along with something else. What ICE could do with an asset, you know, a T0 grain chain ICE with a freight forwarder. I mean, it's just, there's a lot out there. There's a lot out there that sits under the hood of a $1.3 billion market cap with $300 million in cash. I'll tell you that. It's just, but you know, it requires people to actually think, and that in this world is a stretch. So.
True. All right. I guess my main point, and this has been kind of floating around in my mind for the last couple of weeks. I mean, Adam Aron's been beat to shit on this call, but and I think we all agree. But you know, like we all love to see the board and CEOs buying like their own stock, not selling it. I'm sure we all agree on that. And I was looking up, and you've had a few comments on this semi-recently, but nothing crazy. But I'm just curious about your thoughts on like Ryan Cohen, how him and his board buy their own shares. You know, like we want to see that. But like, what's the opinion of the jockey on this one? It's like he's a different boat than Adam Aron, I think. But you know, I'm just kind of like curious of the opinion on what he's doing.
I wouldn't piss on Ryan Cohen if he was on fire. I think Ryan Cohen is a poor man's Adam Aron. Ryan Cohen is bad news. Bad news. You know,
Okay.
I
I'm
have
not
him.
invested.
I have him to thank for running Bed Bath and Beyond into the ground because it's now Overstock's asset. But Ryan Cohn is despicable,
Okay.
and you know, it's bad news. Bad news. So.
Okay. I was curious because the Bed Bath thing and whatever's going. Again, I'm not really invested in any of it. I was just
How he wasn't investigated for the trading in Bed Bath and Beyond is beyond me. But again, that's, you know, it's over my pay grade. So.
And what would start an investigation like that in your experience? Like, it was all out in the open, or does it go back to everything's broken?
Everything's broken, and it's up to the SEC to figure out what they want to investigate and bring a case on. I mean, you can whistleblow all you want. They're going to have to want to pick up the baton and actually do something with it.
Okay. Well, cool. No, thank you for the call. The Bed Bath and that, and I was just curious about it, so I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Keep doing what you're doing.
Thanks, Why Try. Let's go to EQ Research, and then we'll go to Brando.
Hey, Spence and Mark, thanks for putting this on. This is Jamie over here. Curious, I know, kind of wanted to pivot the conversation a little bit. A lot of challenges in retail going on right now. I'm kind of curious how Mark has been thinking about Helen of Troy recently.
You know, someone asked me about Helen of Troy last night, and here's what we know for sure. Their balance sheet is a mess. Interest rates are going up. Their customers are suffering. They have no hot products. Sales are down. The CEO is leaving. Their accounting is made of such fiction. The new CFO showed up with puts. And I think numbers are way too high, just way too high. I think their use of non-GAAP accounting fringes illegal because the number is $10 to $12 a share when actual earnings are 2 to 4. And I think this is just a fuck situation. So I can't think of anything good going on at Helen of Troy, right? I mean, what's the bull story? They're going to sell more humidifiers this year? I mean, more people are going to buy the shit that no one wants or has 6 of? I mean, it's just a garbage company. And with the CFO quitting and the CEO quitting. So if anyone wants to go buy the stock, buy the stock. But I think, you know, when these guys open their mouth as you get closer toward the end of the year or Christmas, I don't think things are any good there. I think estimates are too high, and, you know, there's nothing exciting there. There's nothing that would make you want to buy the stock. Nothing make me want to buy the stock, I'll tell you that. So it is what it is.
I'm in complete agreement with everything that you just said right there. And the way that I'm thinking about it too is that they clearly drove down inventory and got a pretty good squeeze out of it. And now it's kind of like what happens going forward from here. And it doesn't look good to me.
There was an old guy who I knew who used to run Speedway Motorsports, Roger Slack, who's a pal. He's on here. He can appreciate this. A guy named Bruton Smith, probably one of the most politically incorrect guys there ever was. And he used to say, when the dog catches the bus, if it can't eat it or fuck it, what's it gonna do? Okay? And that's sort of how I look at Helen of Troy. They have no sales growth whatsoever. Sales are declining. They have no hot products. They have cost pressures. They have a huge amount of debt. Balance sheet's a mess. They use non-GAAP accounting to make the numbers look 3 times bigger than they actually are. It's just a horrifically bad story. It's a terrible story. So why you want to own a stock like that is beyond me. But again, you know, it's a free country. Everyone can do whatever the hell they want. So I'm non-impressed with these guys. And the CEO wears those regular glasses that turn into sunglasses when he goes outside, and he takes his corporate picture with him, and I think he's as tone deaf as Dorsey is. So I don't know. I mean, I'm involved, and it's it's been what it's been. It's hasn't killed you. It hasn't been great. It's just been blah. So, but I'm patient, just hanging out and seeing what happens.
Thank you. Appreciate the update on the way that you're thinking about that there. And then how about that the pet insurance company that you're into?
I think he's asking about Trupanion.
Trupanion.
Yeah, that's a fascinating scam. Let's just say letters are going out on Trupanion. They're going out to all interested parties. And I just got a letter from the state of New Jersey, dated October 23rd, Re-American Pet Insurance, which is Trupanion. Dear blank, this will acknowledge the receipt of your recent correspondence requesting that the Office of Insurance Ombudsman assist in the ongoing insurance matter with the caption company. In accordance with our formal complaint process, we have written to the insurer for a report outlining its position on the matter. Upon receipt of the company's response, we will review the documentation submitted by both parties and advise you of our findings. Your concerns are very important to us, and we'll do our best to address the matter as quickly as possible and keep you informed. Let's just say that Trupanion has man-sized problems. They have balance sheet problems, they have business problems, they have insurance spiral problems, they have leverage problems, they have ripping off the consumer problems, they have problems. And book value for the company is about $5.30 a share, and it is an insurance company. So most insurance companies that lose money trade at a fraction of book. And this thing happens to trade at close to 6 times book. So when it all breaks, when it all comes loose, who knows? But this thing is an absolute fucking mess. And NBC News, Gretchen Morgensen, and the Today Show last week did a whole thing on Trupanion and what a ripoff it is, and pet insurance, and they have competitors, and they're overpriced by a factor of 3. And we'll see where this thing goes. They rip off the customer, management lies, they don't tell the truth, and these things tend to end badly, but when it happens fast. How the stock's here, who the fuck knows? Markets are broken and can stay broken for some time, but we'll see how it all goes. So it's the best I got there, but letters are being written, and I tend to do decent with letters, and others are writing letters, and it wouldn't surprise me that people have sent stuff to the SEC on a whistleblowing matter of the 3 people, executives leaving, and the lies management's told. So getting these guys to adequately disclose is a whole nother challenge. So we'll see. We'll see how it all goes.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Mark.
Yeah.
Thanks, EQ. Brando, you're up.
All right. How you doing, Mark? I'm really enjoying the talk. My question is, I joined a little late, so I don't know if you've already spoken on it, but I just wanted to hear your thoughts on what's going on with AMC and NVDA, what you think their future's going to be.
Looks like Mark dropped. I'm wondering if he got a phone call. Usually if he gets a really important phone call, he just drops like that. We'll give him a minute. There he is. Okay.
No, I didn't mean to drop. It just dropped me, and so I'm back. So there we go.
I think somebody on X doesn't like you there. And Brando.
That's all right. I'm back.
Okay.
It must be David Sachs and his crew.
Brando, you want to ask your question again, bud?
Yeah, sorry. Hi, Mark. Really enjoying the show. I just wanted to hear your thoughts on the NVDA and what's going on with AMC. You've probably already spoken on it. I just joined a little late. But yeah, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on that coming from someone who has money in both.
What
Maybe what your suggestion would be.
What are we talking about? AMC?
He
Yeah,
was
the
asking
stock.
about, you're a little muffled, Brandon. I'll just ask him. He wondered what your thoughts on AMC was and Nvidia. I think he said he has money in both, and he just wanted your perspective, I believe.
I have zero clue on Nvidia. I mean, Nvidia is what it is, and that name is above my pay grade. So I wish everyone on that name nothing but the best. Spence, what's been my opinion on AMC?
Adam Aron's going to dilute the piss out of everybody.
Yeah, and there's no price that's too low because he just doesn't care. And you know, when we had a conversation or the last thing, I think you did a call on it, right, Spence? And I just said, here's what's going to happen. And, you know, I wouldn't be anywhere close to this fire scene, anywhere close. And you know, he just doesn't care. And this is bet the jockey, not the horse. And he's probably one of the worst jockeys out there, one of the worst. Makes too much money, doesn't give a crap about poor people, doesn't give a crap about shareholders, only cares about bond guys and the guys who put him in power. So to me, it's a tragedy. It's one of the worst stories in the last 5 years, what this guy's done.
Now it looks like
Well,
they're
thank you so much, Mark. We're gonna definitely have to pull out.
Say that again, Brando.
Oh, I just said thank you for your time, and
Yeah.
I'm definitely gonna have to pull out.
Thanks, buddy. So I think we got through all the hands, Mark.
Okay, Spence. Well, thanks for putting this on. It was, I think we cleared the air as best as I humanly could. And I appreciate you picking up for me when my space thing didn't fire. And, you know, that's that. And I wish everyone nothing but the best and good luck. Dangerous world out there. But thanks for listening in.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mark, for your time today and your perspectives and clearing the air on what happened with the space call yesterday with Edwin. I think this call is going to be re-listened to multiple times this week. I think you ruffled some feathers. So thank you very much.
Play to win the game. Take care, everybody.
All right, everybody. Well, that was very interesting. That was an awesome space call. Again, I want to thank Mark. Thank you, everybody who came up to speak. I'm going to have to go back and snip some of that because some of the stuff that was said was, I mean, this is stuff that should be on the news. This is stuff that should be on Fox, on CNBC, whatever you want to call it. The fact that I'm lucky enough to host it on my little YouTube channel here is pretty cool. I really appreciate it. And I appreciate everybody that came into the YouTube chat. Sorry I couldn't get to your comments for the call. For some reason, I can't stream the sound from my Twitter feed anymore directly to my PC, to my UBS, because it plays double. So I got to figure out how to change that, and I'll be able to sit in and take comments and listen to everything. But I hope everybody got something out of what Mark said. I'm going to go back. I'm going to cover here a little bit of what's going on with AMC, Ape. TMF is doing great. I should have bought way more TMF the other day. I knew I should have. Kicking myself in the butt. It's doing really good. I hope to see this keep ticking up over the next couple weeks. AMC had a nice little run, popped this morning, got slapped back down. A little bit of a candle here coming into after hours. I'm going to watch very carefully after hours because the reverse split is happening. It's going to be done pre-market. There's a lot of talk going on about the options chain. And apparently there's some big AMC2 call options bought for, I guess, July 23rd. So something really interesting there, but I also do know they like to bait people in with stuff like that. But if they are going to let AMC do anything special, it's going to be after retail gets out of the play. That's just how it's going to go. Aron has set this up to bleed retail dry. He is MIA. He's not tweeting anything. It's absolutely ridiculous right now what's going on. So, but man, what a day. That was a great space call. I love doing that because while I was streaming, I got to clean my house. So that's cool. Smells real bleachy in here. August 23rd. Maybe they were August 23rd. I don't have access to the data on that, but I think PJ told me July 23rd or August 23rd, but apparently there's some very large options activity. So let's go to PJ's feed and see if she posted anything about it. Why isn't she popping up? At PJS. There she is. I don't see her posting anything about it. Let's read the Weeble thing, though. Dear valued client, AMC Entertainment Holdings, Inc. has announced a 1-for-10 reverse split, which is expected to take effect in all shareholders' accounts August 24th. There will be no fee associated with this event, and processing will be automatic based on the 8K. Shareholders will be receiving 1 new share for every 10 AMC shares and 8 positions held prior to August 24th. That doesn't sound right. One new share for every 10 shares of AMC is right, and APE, but that's on the 25th. For example, maybe they're doing this all at once. I don't know. Maybe APE is going to convert tomorrow instead of the 25th. But the AK says the 25th, but it's saying tomorrow, the 24th on Weeble. So I don't know. I don't know if that's true or not, but I still have my position. 8 positions held August 24th. For example, an investor who owns both 100 AMC and 100 APE is expected to receive 10 shares from the AMC position and 10 shares from the APE. This doesn't look right. And it's talking about call options too. That doesn't seem right, but maybe it's changed from the 8K and we don't know. I got to throw terrible a little. Terrible. It's invaluable. All right, let's take some comments. Wall Street equals peak corruption. Absolutely. You mean August 23rd. Today is August 23rd. The reverse split is tomorrow morning. That's when pre-market tomorrow morning. But Weeble is saying that everything's doing it tomorrow. If APE converts tomorrow, this could be crazy. But the 8K says the 25th. Well, Ape and AMC are finally about to meet in the middle, be put back together again. Can't see I'm very happy about this. I am wondering why Weeble is saying Ape reverse splits tomorrow with AMC. That's wild. Maybe brokers, maybe this is up to the brokers when to reverse split. Maybe it's not up to the 8K on 8. Maybe the conversion is up to them. I'm not 100% sure. That's a great ad. I can see the light and it's not a battery on fire. That's great. I don't know. We'll find out in the morning, I guess. I mean, it doesn't really matter at this point. If you're in, you're in. But the volume on Ape and AMC today, thanks Dade for posting that. Ape almost at 101 million volume, AMC nearing 160 million volume, and we have nothing going on with the stock whatsoever. I mean, it's pure market corruption. Everybody knows it. Nobody will do anything about it. We've changed a little bit in the market. I will not say the AMC movement was for nothing. We did make some waves. People met people. People became better traders, etc., etc. It's just crazy. So either way, guys, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to click off to keep the continuity of this stream to the call that was for Mark. I will restream if anything happens this evening. I'm going to go out and meet somebody tonight. So I'm going to take a little time and relax before tomorrow morning. I will be up pre-market in the morning streaming to try to calculate what's going on tomorrow. I'll probably be streaming all day, guys. So if you can, please hit the like button. Please share the video. Go to Twitter. Like the space call on Twitter. Give Mark a follow if you can. Anybody who is speaking, give him a follow. I really appreciate you guys. Hope you have a good one. I will see you either after hours today or pre-market in the morning to finish this thing out once and for all. So y'all take care. Froggy stanks out. Froggy stanks out.